The Earthquaker Devices Afterneath is a spooky, haunted cave in a convenient pedal format. Okay, this thing is seriously fun. And Afterneath is definitely up there with Gonkulator, and the Electric Mistress is having one of the greatest pedal names ever. What I really like about the way it sounds is how you can hear the transformation of the dominant pitch of that resonating reverberation. And by its nature, a guitar or any plucked or strummed instrument starts out with a sharp attack and then it falls off quickly. This lets you build up crescendos and really create a dynamic and haunting sound that rings back long after you've stopped playing. Now, there's lots of videos on YouTube demoing this pedal, and that's cool. But what I want to know, and what hopefully you want to know, is what the heck is this pedal doing? So, first off, is this a delay or a reverb? And the answer is yes. And not because they generously combine delay and reverb into a single pedal, because fundamentally, delay and reverb are like pancakes and waffles. There's only small details separating them. A signal comes in, it gets delayed, it gets mixed back in with the original signal, and that happens whether it's a delay or a reverb. The only real difference is whether it comes back all at once or spread out over time. It's the difference between standing outside in a blizzard versus getting hit with a snowball. Where I grew up, we had this big concrete wall in the middle of a park for people to play tennis against. And that was fun, but you could also go across the field to the swing set and shout dirty words and hear them get echoed back at you, which in a pre-internet day is about as much fun as it gets. And you got one solid echo back because there was one solid wall there. Now, if you've ever been in an indoor pool or an empty house or gymnasium or an actual cave, you've heard real life reverb. Something like this. And what you're hearing isn't fundamentally different from the echo coming off of that wall. It's just that there's more than one big flat surface in there. So the sound can bounce off that far wall and then go off the ceiling and the other walls and the floor and that far wall again. And because the room is full of those hard, flat surfaces, there's nothing to absorb the sound. So it's going to keep echoing and echoing and echoing around in what we've come to call reverb. The whole reason it's got all this cave wizard imagery is because what do you find in a cave? Lots of big rocks, maybe some water. So lots of big surfaces for sound to echo off of. Big enough for us to be able to pick out individual echoes, but enough of them to reverberate off of one another. That's why you're hearing this. And it instantly makes you go, all right, that's a big dark haunted cave right there. Let's get started with these controls, and let's deal with the easy ones first. Mix is your blend of wet to dry, dampen is a tone knob of sorts, and now we're done talking about these two. All right, let's start with a setting you would never use on this thing. Everything else set all the way down. With it set this way, you can hear the individual delays. And if I show it to you, then you can actually see it. Look, there's multiple delays happening in here. And let's greatly oversimplify this with a drawing. We'll say the sound comes in here, it gets split up a few different ways, and then goes into multiple delay lines, some of which are longer than others. Next, let's talk about the length, and I believe this is the overall feedback. So how much of the output gets sent back into the input to be echoed again. Right now, our delays are coming back very sharp and clear. The diffuse knob changes that. It spreads out the echoes so they come back spread out a little bit over time. And to put a picture to this, let's change this arrow to something more like this. It's like changing the spray setting on a hose or a sink sprayer. Reflect is where it really starts to get cavey. The manual says this is the amount of regeneration for the reverb. I think it's the amount that each individual delay line feeds back into itself and maybe into one another, compared with the length, which is the overall feedback. And then the fun knob, drag. This serves two very important purposes. So one, it's the amount of separation between the individual delay lines, and lower settings equals greater separation and greater delay, which might seem counterintuitive, except that this knob serves an important second purpose. And as you alter that knob, the pitch shifts quite dramatically. And once it gets there, it hangs there for quite a while. Now, this is version 2 of the Afterneath. Version 3 of the pedal makes it so you can control that knob from an expression pedal, And it gives you a bunch of other options for how that pitch shifts. Chromatic, pentatonic, major, minor. So if you're really into that dynamic changing effect, version 3 is going to be worth the upgrade for you. It also adds a flexi switch so you can punch the effect in and out quickly and use it almost like a freeze pedal. So putting it all together, drag is the space between our delays. Diffuse lets you turn those individual all-at-once delays into little showers of reverb. Reflect is how long each delay is going to hold onto its signal, and length is how long the effect will sustain overall. Or to follow the cave metaphor, I'd say that drag is how deep the cave is, reflect is how resonant the rock wall surfaces are, diffuse is how fragmented the walls are, and length is maybe, I don't know, how much moss and bats there are to absorb the sound. I don't know, I'm just making this up. Now, I could play with this pedal all day long. It's fun with every instrument and effect that I sent through it. And if the Boss Terra Echo is a space laser echo fest, this is a magical fantasy cave architect simulator. And I don't know if it has any practical purpose for me playing in a bar band, but I can almost guarantee you it will wind up on my pedal board for when I'm just messing around and trying to create weird new stuff. And speaking of creating weird new stuff, you can help me create new weird stuff. Subscribe to my channel, and if there's an effect you want to see get the treatment, make sure to comment down there so I know about it. And maybe, just maybe, I'll see you on the next Stompbox Breakdown.